last time, and another 26 billion, 67 billion in 18 months taken out of, when there is still a cost of living crisis, when people struggle to get the food they want to feed their kids.
Yeah.
So how is that acceptable and necessary?
Well, whether it becomes acceptable is an issue that will be debated in the coming months. Why it is necessary is because of what I've just said. And by the way, a lot of those tax rises are going to be implemented later on. I think we're going to look at the front page where they say, I don't know whether we can put it up now, but exactly, spend now, pay later. Now, actually, the politics of this is really interesting, as well as the economics, which is quite a lot of the tax rises will be coming in what will probably be an election year. So my assumption is she is keeping her fingers crossed that the economy grows and she doesn't have to implement some of these tax rises. She has to put them in there because of the OBR and the figures all balancing. But she cannot be working on the assumption that she's going to introduce quite big tax rises in the election year. So she must be hoping for economic growth. I think the deeper question is where the economic growth is going to come from. But in the meantime, because the economy isn't growing, that's why she's having to raise the money through tax.
Well, let's take a look at the Daily Telegraph. A red box of broken promises is their assessment, Salma. We heard from the OBR today that productivity growth had been revised down. Rachel Reeves, in an answer actually to our political editor Beth Rigby, said that that had taken 16 billion out of the economy, but that the OBR was very clear it was nothing to do with the decisions she had taken. It was the last 14 years. Now, is she at all to blame for the fact that growth has stalled in this country and that many people feel that employment is also harder to come by?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this largely goes down to the first budget that she delivered, which was the rise in national insurance on employers, because that forced a contraction for so many businesses in the UK. And it did unfortunately, force them to make decisions about hiring in the future. And then there was a lag effect. Not only that, but it is compounded by things like the employee rights legislation that is also coming forward. It is also compounded by the fact that, you know, there are headwinds globally from things like tariffs, from things like conflict. So this is a bad situation. The question is, has the Chancellor made it worse? And I'm afraid, yes, she has. But
you see, it is interesting, isn't it? Because she is literally right in reference to the OBR. They were looking back over past years, not just her year or plus in power. So it is literally the case that that's what the OBR was doing as part of his assessment as to why growth is so sclerotic.
But do you think she's culpable for some of that?
Yeah, I think we've discussed it here before several times. She shouldn't have put up the national insurance for employers. I think she was right to put up tax in the last budget. It was just the wrong tax. And remember, we got from that the necessary, in my view, investment in the NHS, which will, over time, make a tangible difference. And that was necessary. And so she was right to do it, but it was the wrong tax. But it is interesting that she and Starmer, when they try and blame the Tories, it goes nowhere. It just gets people cross. So why was George Osborne able to do it when he was Chancellor and blame Labour for the entire global crash? And I think one of the reasons is that they have always been consistent in saying it was terrible, their inheritance. But before the election, they pretended it could all be solved with kind of tiddly little things here and there. Whereas actually it's taking this kind of huge steps and no one was prepared for it. So, they didn't prepare the ground for a coherent argument about their inheritance. And now they're doing it and no one was prepared.
Yeah. So they boxed themselves in and didn't prepare the ground.
And didn't make the arguments.
And made some really critical bad decisions.
Well, we're going to come on to other people's assessment of the budget after this, because there's something big, round and green on the front of the Star, and for once it's not a Liz Truss lettuce. We will look more closely at why the Chancellor won't be pleased in just a moment.
I'm James Matthews, and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Do you fear a fourth indictment? Does your government owe an apology to the British home children?
Great to see you.
Does your government owe them an apology? The fact that they were intercepted, does that indicate a military weakness on the part of Iran?
No.
Free, wherever you get your news. There's no doubting the strength of this hurricane as it roars through. You can feel a devastating power. It had been a difficult night in a deadly storm.
Bang, bang. You can hear it hitting the windows.
Our houses are okay.
It's depressing.
As bad as all of this is, it could have been much worse. Today, this land they call sacred is at the heart of America's electric car revolution.
To me, it's a sacred ground.
The white gold rush is a race that Biden doesn't want to lose. I've covered some of the biggest stories in the world. Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States, it would appear is about to learn his fate.
Escort coming out!
San Quentin houses America's largest death row. They rarely allow cameras onto the condemned block.
James Matthews, Sky News.
I want to be treated equally like everyone else.
It's one step closer to getting out, to getting off death row.
Sky News. Get the full story first. Mr. Trump, James Matthews from Sky News.
Hey, James.
You're diminished by claims that you're a racist.
Question?
Mr. Musk, has your ignorance and ego cost Ukrainian lives? Vladimir Putin calls you outstanding. What do you call him, sir?
He's from Sky News. He's from Sky News. He's entitled to ask me questions.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force.
It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
We are under Israeli military restrictions in terms of some of the things that we can film, but it's important to be in there. What a slow drive for the president as he approaches his golf club. 4 more years! Free wherever you get your news. I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me once again, columnist and broadcaster Steve Richards and the former Conservative Special Advisor Salma Shah. Let's go to the Times. Succinct, pithy, you might say. High welfare, high tax. Is that how you would sum up this budget then, Steve?
Partly, not wholly, but partly. And we could have written the headline from the revolt over the welfare reforms in the summer. When that revolt took place, because of a rushed attempt at the welfare reform, they were going to have to find the money because they weren't getting the cuts anticipated. And then it was always clear for some time, Gordon Brown pushing it very hard, going to see Keir Starmer, but convincing Keir Starmer that they were going to do this child poverty, lifting the child benefit cap. And I mean, all the evidence suggests that is the most effective way of addressing it. So that is all welfare. How do you pay for it? They can't borrow, they can't cut elsewhere, so it's through tax. And that's what's happened. And so the headline could have been written in the summer.
And this really is how Kemi Badenoch's retort to the Chancellor landed. The Sun, the Benefit Street budget. I mean, that is absolutely what she said, and she pitched it very carefully, that you are putting taxes up on workers to pay for those on benefits. And, that was a simple message where perhaps Labour's is not so straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the leader of the opposition to have not been able to land any blows on the Chancellor today would have been completely disastrous for her. So, fortunately for her, the material that she had to work with was quite good. But what's interesting about this from the paper's perspective is that they have taken those lines, whereas usually Conservatives have been written off and everybody wants to know what Reform is saying about stuff. But this time, Kemi Badenoch really landed the blows, she got the lines, and I think she could be very happy when she sees these papers and thinks, yes, I'm actually the person that's taking that fight to the government today.
Well, the line from Nigel Farage, just to fill that hole, is this is an assault on aspiration and saving. Is that true as well?
And Ed Davey, similarly as well, from the Lib Dems, who is actually the third party, not Reform, although you wouldn't know it, but he similarly was taking that same line around growth and stagnation. So you have this coalescence, really.
There is, as I say, the heart of this is where is economic growth coming from? Yeah. Because without it, these are going to be the budgets from Labour, the Tories, for years to come, because economic growth provides revenue and it feeds on itself. And the more you then invest, the more you get the economic growth. And until that is cracked,
But that's the problem. Nobody's really anticipating, rocket-fueled economic growth. The OBR forecast downgraded after this for the next few years.
That's at the heart of all of this. In terms of, Kemi Badenoch is becoming a very good performer, and that is important. It's an absolute essence of leadership in opposition to be able to perform, and she's getting good at it.
But can I ask you about the idea of aspiration then?
Yeah.
In terms of the Mansion House, many people in London suggesting Band F does not a Mansion House make. But anyway, and also the non-dom rules that we saw last year, the VAT on schools, for example, the elements that are telling entrepreneurs, wealth creators in this country that they're not really welcome.
But are they the only ones with the right to aspire? What about kids who are classified as being in poverty? Do they not have the right to aspire? See, this term aspiration is very vague and imprecise and is thrown around.
But of course they have the right to aspire. Of course they do. That's not the question. It's those people who've worked really hard and achieved a lot of this stuff who then are being punished and penalised for it. And I'm not saying everybody that has, wealth has earned it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, yes, there are gaps in opportunity. We would agree on that. But the point is, if you have worked hard and you've done all the right things, why are you then being punished for people who are not actually participating?
You're using really emotive language by saying punishment, as if...
It is a punishment.
No, it's not. It's not.
Of course it is.
To go back to it, if you haven't got economic growth, but you have a strategy to get kids out of poverty, say, you have to find the money. How do you find the money in a way that is remotely fair? It's not punitive. It's like this
it's kind of... It's not Grinchy, like the Star. It's not like the Grinch.
It's not like... Oh, is that one up there? Yeah. You see, yeah, well, there we go. I mean...
But here's another problem with this as well, because the Star's basically alluding to her green credentials. So just at the end, she's saying tax, 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 spend, spend, spend. Is it because she's green? So now you've got the eco stuff as well thrown in.
Salma.
Well, that's another whole issue.
Steve,
how long have we got?
Run out of time. Thank you.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here